In just a few weeks, kids will be coming home with their first report cards of the school year. But tonight, we have a look at how our actual schools are performing, especially our state's biggest district, Albuquerque Public Schools. Superintendent Gabriela Duran-Blakey seems overjoyed with newly released test results coming in from last school year. But it is very clear there is still a lot of work that needs to be done.
She said, though, the jump in proficiency rates is thanks in large part, at least, to new APS goals and guidelines. Our Emily Faith has been digging into the data for us. So, Emily, how much did the scores increase for what is, again, the largest district in our state?
Well, Trevor, Tessa, according to PED reports, APS saw a decent rise in English language arts compared to the previous year. However, math numbers did stay pretty stagnant.
We're really excited about the results.
43.2% proficient in English language arts and only 24.7% proficient in math.
I think it's important to note that we're not surprised by the results. We're very proud of our staff and our students for the results, but we're not surprised because we have all of our progress monitoring that we do.
That's how APS students fared according to the State Public Education Department's assessment results. Seemingly right on track, as the state average for ELA is 43.19 and math is 24.6. The ELA increase is the bright spot Superintendent Gabriela Duran-Blakey is highlighting the most.
We're seeing significant gains in literacy, very targeted approaches, a lot of investment from the state in that area.
She says the almost static improvement in math is mostly due to absenteeism.
Primarily, we see a connection in math and chronic absenteeism.
Both Superintendent Blakey and School Board President Danielle Gonzalez noting as APS scores rise, New Mexico should rise out of the 50th spot in national education rankings.
About 20 to 25% of public school students actually go to Albuquerque Public Schools. So that's a significant percentage, and so as APS is rising, the state should be rising too.
So, Emily, as you were going through these numbers, you found some inconsistencies between APS's numbers and then the PED's numbers. You used the state numbers to base your reporting, right?
Yes, that is correct. PED's numbers is what we have been reporting on for the most part. And I actually asked an APS spokesperson about those discrepancies and was told that the district's rate, which is 26.5%, that is apparently the total number of students who took the test and then scored proficiently. The PED takes that number from the district and plugs it into a formula to get the attenuated rate. So that is the main difference between those two numbers.
And not a huge difference. So it's still apples to apples, so to speak. You know, with these new test scores, APS also highlighted some schools that are maybe making bigger strides than others. But do we know if any schools within the district actually regressed in the results?
Yeah, so I did ask Superintendent Blakey about that, and she said there are schools that their rates did drop. And she says that they really want to facilitate some more constructive conversations between schools that did very well and those that didn't see the gains that they were quite hoping to, all maybe to see that exchanging those ideas will actually boost all APS schools.
And part of working with them is looking at the schools that have increased. And so it's really important to note that these schools, I mean, we have schools that are in the double digits of growth. They can learn from the other schools as far as what they're doing that's really working.
Now, she also told me that making sure all schools are properly staffed and have access to certain resources plays a big role in elevating everybody's success.
There's that proverb, iron sharpens iron.
Exactly.
So to kind of base APS off of other school districts, how did it stack up compared to other results?
You know, that's something that I had thought about as well. And I actually asked Superintendent about that iron sharpens iron mentality and if APS is thinking about using that and learning from other districts that may have scored higher on the tests. And she said those conversations, they do happen throughout the year, but typically it is the other way around.
In New Mexico, we are like on the top of the performing, so it's a lot of times other superintendents asking us what we're doing in reading and math, particularly to get results. And so I talk to my colleagues all the time about what we're doing.
So she's saying APS is one of the top performers. You looked at all the proficiency results for all public school districts in our state. Is that true that APS is a top performer?
So yes and no, not quite. There's 89 other districts that were in the test test results overall from PED, and there were 35 others that had higher scores in math and 36 that had higher scores in ELA. And in fact, many of those had both higher scores in math and ELA that are over 60% proficient. So you can check out those full reports from PED on our website, KOB.com.
Yeah, we will absolutely celebrate any kind of progress, but acknowledge still a lot of work to be done.
Yes,
Emily,
absolutely.
thanks for the explainer there.